We're pleased to welcome now Brian Rose, former congressional candidate for Mississippi's 4th District, also author of the brand new book, Cloning Donald Trump, How the Media Manufactured a Monster. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you, John? Good to be here.
Doing great. So tell us a little bit about your background before we dig into the book. I know you served in the U.S. military and then ran for Congress. You're also an entrepreneur.
I did. I'm a veteran of the Somalia and Bosnia conflicts of the early 90s. I became an entrepreneur after that, and I think that's pretty much the combination of those two things what led me down a road of politics. And in the 2018 election, I decided to run for Congress and get my thoughts out there. It was a tough hill to climb, going against an entrenched incumbent, but I got my ideas out there, and I'm happy with the result of that.
Yeah. So what inspired you to write this book about Donald Trump?
Well, so, as part of my entrepreneurial journey, marketing was a big thing that I delved into. And what we're seeing right now is one of the most successful marketing campaigns in the history of mankind. People didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I think we should start jailing our political foes or political opponents. It was a grooming of the media, and this was intentionally done by the Democrat Party. They started with creating a common enemy, which is a marketing skill, a marketing tactic. Create a common enemy. Tell them your suffering is not your own fault. It's this guy's fault. And then focus in on their biases. So there's many studies that have shown that the majority of any population is susceptible to lies if told over and over, especially if those lies pull in their heartstrings. And that's what they started with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a beloved guy throughout Hollywood. He was never considered racist. He was making appearances on black TV shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he was just loved all around. There's pictures of him high-fiving with civil rights leaders throughout the last 3-4 decades. But all of a sudden, when he stepped in to the political role and came down that escalator, they said, oh, we can't have this guy. He's going to give common sense. He's going to tell people that they're being overtaxed. He's going to wreck the system. So what did they do? They created lies about him. The first one was easy. They said, hey, he's a racist. They would take things like quotes where he says there were very fine people on both sides after Charlottesville. But they leave out the part where he said, and I'm not talking about the KKK or the white supremacists, they should be condemned. So you hear over and over that he called white supremacists very fine people when the facts, and easily verifiable facts, say that he did not. So I wrote this book to basically give a side-by-side view of what the media reports versus what is reality. And it is astonishing what they've done in the last 10 years.
Interesting. Well, I don't know that anyone else has actually compiled all that into a book. I mean, the media talks about it sort of selectively, but so it sounds like you've collected a good bit of those situations and then included them in this book.
So one of the biggest things, and they continue to roll with this lie, is about the Trump tax cuts. The majority of Americans got tax cuts under the 2017 tax cuts. However, you have Nancy Pelosi, the media, the blue-haired girl with the nose rings on TikTok, all parroting that it was only the rich that benefited from this. Well, the facts, the IRS data, the Biden IRS data show that the middle class got the highest percentage of tax cuts of all the tax brackets. And if you want to say that only the rich benefited, the corporations benefited, well, the United States had one of the highest corporate tax rates in the entire world. And we brought it down to just around what the average of the entire world is, to 21%. It was at a staggering 37, 38%. So they bring it down to 21%. You look at countries like Canada, who is known for taxing their citizens and their businesses. The corporate tax rate in Canada is just 15%. So we're still higher than them. However, the media says, nope, only the rich benefited from this tax cut. And a funny thing is, one of my favorite news articles of all time, I think, was actually done by the New York Times. In 2019, the New York Times compiled the data of the IRS, and they polled Americans. The headline of this article was, "Face it, you probably got a tax cut." And the article
I
goes
remember that.
into a poll that they did with Americans, asking Americans who actually did get tax cuts if they believed that they got a tax cut. And even though their paychecks went up 30, 50, $100 a week or whatever, they still didn't believe it because the media was pounding them over and over and over again by reporting what Nancy Pelosi and all of the rest of them were saying, that this is Armageddon for the middle class. So they couldn't believe it. It was basically their biasness that they were looking for, just kind of redemption of, they want to believe that Donald Trump did them wrong, and they couldn't believe it when he actually did them right.
Yeah, that is incredible. But that's absolutely true. And it just seems like we've reached a point in society where there's so many different sources of information, of course, with the internet, social media, and so forth. And many of these elected officials know that, and they pretty much say whatever they want, whether it's factual or not, because they know they can influence. They know that people will often coalesce around them, just like this idea. They want to believe what these folks are telling them. They want to trust the likes of Nancy Pelosi. If she says, hey, yeah, you're really not benefiting from these tax cuts, they all went to Trump's wealthy friends, they totally buy into that.
And I'll tell you,
how do we break this cycle, Brian? How do we break this cycle?
Well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can tell you how. We have to just do what they're doing. They're very organized. The Democrats, the left, they're very organized. In fact, they between the Democratic National Committee as well as all of the super PACs that support them, they spend an enormous amount of money on social media influence. They pay these social media influencers to go on TikTok, to go on X.com, formerly Twitter, go on Facebook, and tell these talking points, these daily talking points. And they parrot it because they are paid to parrot it. And then all the people underneath them that believe them because they're influenced by these social media influences, they parrot what they hear from their heroes on TikTok. We are not that organized. We could be getting the truth out there. Hey, you did get a tax cut. Hey, Trump did not say what they're reporting he said, or they omitted part of what he said. We could be doing that, but we're not organized enough to do it. And that's what we need to do. We need to fight fire with fire. You know, people keep talking about the weaponization of the Justice Department. Well, it started with the weaponization of the media and social media, and we can fight that fire with fire. We can put together a fact truth brigade that goes out there and does the exact same thing. But the problem is, Jared, we don't do it, and I don't understand why.
They seem to be a lot better organized, as you say, of just repeating and refraining and parroting and spreading that same message. And I mean, even to the point where they structure the words in the exact same sequence. I mean, they're very good at that.
Sure.
Yeah, at that communication. And it is effective. I mean, from an influence the voter perspective, it's effective. May not be factual, but it's effective.
I follow all of the social media influencers on the left, and you can get a prediction of what the media is going to be reporting a week from now if you follow these leftist social influencers, because on any given day, they are all saying the exact same buzzwords, the exact same talking points. And then if it has legs, they'll continue the next day. If not, they move on to the next talking point, because they are being handled by people that are organizing this war, and it is a war. It is an information war, and their chosen weapon is information or disinformation. I mean, take the laptop, for instance. We heard over and over that it was Russian disinformation, and that's everybody from the president on down. So the president says it's disinformation. You have 51 intelligence officers that say it's disinformation. Now the media reports, well, these are reliable sources who said that it's disinformation. And now you have all the social media influencers echoing that exact same thing. Then it turns out that the FBI testifies in the Hunter Biden case that it was absolutely real, and they had possession of it since 2019. So what does the Republican Party do? Nothing. They do not organize like the Democrats do, and that's what we need to do. This is my new book. It's called Cloning Donald Trump, How the Media Created a Monster. It's available on Amazon or wherever books are sold, and I hope you pick it up.
That is awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming in, Brian, and
right.
sharing your story about the book. Tell the title of the book again, please. Give everybody the title.
It's Cloning Donald Trump: How the Media Manufactured a Monster. Available on Amazon.
Got it. Appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for coming on. Have a good day. Talk soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Wealth studio. Stay with us.